How to add new structure. To add a new structure, head to the organization's list, then press the plus button. Here in the basic information, write your structure's name. Under legal name, add your structure's legal name. The name will appear in all key labor protection documents. If you add a legal name, it will be the primary name that system will use when creating documents. It's optional to add categories, description, registration number, legal status, and language. Here you can create unique password for each structure. The password shall be used every time when sending documents from system to email, and to gain access to the encrypted files, you'll have to enter the password. Next important thing to note is to select which default type of instruction for this structure. Here are descriptions for each of the 3 types of instruction. It's important to note the one you select, it will be set as default, automatically suggested and set for every new employee you add to this structure. For example, if we select the first one, in-person briefing, then when we import multiple employees from the Excel files, it will be set as the default for everyone. When you have chosen, then press Save. We can see the new structure in the organization list. If we want to edit the created new structure, we can do that by clicking the 3 dots and selecting Edit. And here you can edit any information, or for example, add overarching body. We can put our new structure under Logistics. And by clicking Save and then heading to Structures Hierarchy, we will be able to see that our new structure is categorized under Logistics. This function might be useful and needed for clients with high structure count to manage their structures more easily. How to add an organization user or a direct manager. Here, where the organization's users are listed, you can press the plus button. There are 2 options. Either select a user from the list, which means that this manager is already in the system as a user, and we simply add them to this structure, or use the second option. Press the New User button if we cannot find them in the list. For example, if we are looking for Peter Jones and cannot find him, we press the New User button. Fill out the form by entering the user's first and last name and other relevant information. Provide the email or phone number. It is recommended to provide the email because statistical reports are sent to the email, and without it, sending the report will not be possible. Here, we can also specify the job position. A key detail is that you must click on the specified position for it to be saved. There is also a language selection option, where the user's default language in the system is determined, although this selection is not mandatory. If we want to send the invitation immediately, we press the corresponding button. If this manager is also the person who will sign the occupational safety documents, we know that they will be involved in this process as the manager who will execute and sign them. After saving, the user will be saved and the invitation will be sent. Similarly, adding an occupational safety specialist follows the same process. If the specialist is already on the list, we select them and can also search by name, for example, arson, and find them. Alternatively, we select the New User option, and the specialist can immediately send an invitation and be added as a signatory. How to add signatories. Navigate to the specific structure and go to the Documents section. Scroll down, and here you'll see Default Signatories. This is the second method for adding or changing default signatories. Click the plus button, and here you can, for example, choose the type of signature. You can select a physical, electronic, or hybrid signature. Generally, we focus primarily on the electronic signature, as the other types are used rarely. So select the electronic signature. In the User section, you can choose a specific user. If the user is not listed, it might be because no user has been added to the organization you selected. I will now add James Harrison here. And as a specialist, I will add, for example, arson. Both names will appear here. Next, return to this section. Select the electronic signature type and choose James as the signatory. Here you can indicate that he is, for example, a manager who signs all documents. When creating the next documents, click the Next button, and we select arson. This is important because two people are specified. Arson as the preparer and James as the approver. So one person is the manager who signs the document, and the other is the one who prepared it. It is a mandatory requirement that each structure must have at least one person of each type. If not, it will not be possible to sign documents in the system. Of course, you can also add multiple managers who approve and sign documents, such as 2, 3, or 4. In that case, simply click the plus button and add them. It's important to understand this connection. There must be at least one preparer and one approver. Another important aspect is that you can only add users who are associated with the specific organization. There are two levels in the system: the organization user and the occupational safety specialist. A user must be added before they can be associated with any document. How to upload employees using an Excel file? To do this, you need to be in the specific structure where you want to perform the upload. Once you are in the structure, go to the Employees section. Here, there are additional action buttons, and you should click the Import button. A sample import file is available here, and it looks like this when you download it. The row in Latvian provides explanations for those who may be unclear. For example, about the first row in blue. You need to fill in the file, which should look something like this. At this point, I haven't specified the email address and phone number, but it's important to note that it's recommended to provide at least one of them. This is necessary so that you can later invite, for example, Marty Smith to the system, allowing him to perform employee functions. You need to decide where you want to send the invitation, either to the email or the phone number. If you provide both, the invitation will be sent to the email. Once the list is prepared and you know where to obtain it, we can proceed. Go to the Import section where we were previously and select the specific file. Then click Upload. The same list will appear again, and if there are any errors or omissions, the system will highlight them in red. For example, the button Indicate Current Employees, Positions, and Departments as inactive should only be checked if you are uploading an employee list into a structure where employees are already present. This means that anyone not included in this list will be marked as inactive or former employees. This function is often used by existing clients when a new employee list is provided to identify which employees are current. All those not appearing in the new file are considered former employees, and their status is updated accordingly. After this, click Import, and you will see that these employees have been successfully imported. How to perform a job risk assessment in the system? When you have the current employee data and you are certain that all the relevant job positions are in the system, then you can proceed to the risk assessment section. At this point, there are 8 units here. Next, go to the risk assessment section, click on the Create button, and choose the job positions you wish to assess. Remember that you can select multiple positions simultaneously. This means that, for example, if you are assessing the risk for 2 positions, they will share the same legal content. In the Content section, you can choose how you want to perform this risk assessment. If you select Create New Assessment, it means everything will be created entirely from scratch. You won't use any pre-made templates, so each risk factor, each MAC point, each PPE item, and each instruction will be added individually. Let's look at this example now. In the Basic Information section, you can generally leave everything as it is. You can add a brief description of the work environment, as this information will also appear in the risk assessment document itself. You can also specify the people who participated in this risk assessment as employees. Additionally, you can mention the department involved. Click Save. Now you see the first risk assessment. for the positions of contact network electromechanic and contact network electrician. This is an example where everything is created from scratch, meaning each safety factor is added individually. In the field, what may create risk to the safety and health of the employees? Write the risk description. In the field, recommended preventive measures. Write the preventive measures. The most important thing here is to select the risk category, the specific risk factor, describe what causes the risk, and calculate the risk level. It's important to note that a 5-level methodology is used here. The notes section will not appear in the document itself, but you can use it to jot down anything relevant, like the reasoning behind a decision or any indicative measurements conducted by a certified laboratory. Once you're done, click Save. You'll see that the risk factor has been added. Let's add another risk factor, but this time with a completely different category. For example, let's choose a chemical factor and assign it a higher risk level. Now we see that both the chemical factor and the psycho-emotional factor have been added. If you want to change the risk level, simply click on it and you can recalculate it. Why is it important to assign the correct risk level? Because when creating the annual action plan for the structure, all level 3 risks from all risk assessments within the structure will be grouped together, allowing you to define tasks, assign responsibilities, and take action to reduce or mitigate risks. This was one part, risk factors. Next, you can define PPE, personal protective equipment. For instance, headphones might be necessary, or fall protection systems if the job involves working at heights. A note here, these PPE items will be recommended for issuance to all employees in these job positions, and this will be reflected in their daily processes. MHC points are mandatory health checkups to which employees need to be sent. You can specify these points either by name or by their code if you know it by heart, e.g. 5.3. Each point needs to be added individually. Click Attach, and now you have 2 points added. Next, I will add instructions. These are the instructions the employee will become familiar with during the onboarding process. You can add all relevant instructions or just the necessary ones. Click Save, and you'll see that 4 instructions have been added. If you want to make any changes, feel free to delete any from here. Note that this won't delete the instruction from the system, but only from this particular risk assessment. The related materials section is optional. You can skip it if it's not needed. The same goes for additional information. It's not essential, but you can use it to attach related documents like laboratory measurements or other relevant files. Now that you've worked through the risk assessment from scratch, you can preview the document by clicking the Export to PDF button at the top. This allows you to review the final document. When you're ready, click Assess. You can specify the assessment date here, and an important note, if this is a hazardous job requiring more frequent instruction, e.g. twice a year, be sure to set the appropriate period. You also have the option to set it for 3 times a year, but twice is more common. Click Save, and now the status is assessed, not in development. If you go back to the organization view, you'll see that the checklist now shows 2 out of 8 positions are assessed instead of 0 out of 8. The difference between assessed and approved will come into play once the assessment is legally signed by both the manager and the specialist. Next, we'll look at another way to assess risks. For example, when you open the job positions you want to assess, you'll see that 2 of them are already assessed, as indicated in the parentheses, unlike the others that are not. Let's say you now want to assess the positions of HR manager and station attendant. Instead of choosing New, which we looked at before, let's select Template. This template comes from the System Settings in the Risk Assessment Templates section, managed by your system administrators. We can see that there are 4 templates available, such as Office Worker, with predefined risk factors, PPE, and MHC points. I'll choose the Office Worker template. Click Save, and you'll notice the difference from the previous method where everything was created from scratch. Here the data is automatically populated, including risk factors. For this position, no PPE was defined since it's an office job. The MHC section has point 2 defined. However, instructions are not included in the template, so you'll need to add them manually. The system recognizes the structure and suggests the same 4 instructions as in the previous assessment. If these aren't the ones you need, you can manually add other instructions from the available templates. Again, you can preview the risk assessment, and once everything is finalized, click Assess to save. At this point, the status will also be assessed. Go back to the organization view in the checklist. Now you'll see that 4 out of 8 positions are assessed. If we scroll down to the job positions, we can filter by assessed or unassessed positions. Now let's look at the third way to perform a risk assessment. This method allows you to copy from existing risk assessments. In this case, the drop-down menu will offer you the option to copy from another structure within your organization. For example, if the assessment for the 2 positions you're evaluating now is very similar to that of a production manager role, you can choose to copy it. Basic information isn't mandatory, so you can simply save. At this point, the content has been copied from the other structure to these 2 positions. The primary change will be in the instructions, since they were copied along with the risk assessment from the other structure. Now save, and you'll see that this assessment is also in the Assessed on status. Finally, we'll look at the 4th way to perform a risk assessment. We'll do this for the last 2 unassessed positions. Once again, choose the positions you want to assess. This time, instead of creating a new risk assessment, you have the option to add content as a file attachment, e.g., a PDF. I'll upload the file, click Save, and in this case, instead of risk factors, there will be a preview of the document you attached. The sections for PPE, MHC points, and instructions remain the same and need to be defined from scratch. There's no automatic data entry as in the copying methods. Click Assess again, and now all positions have been assessed. Go back to the organization view, and you'll see that the risk assessments are fully green, indicating that 8 out of 8 positions have been assessed. The only thing left is to get them approved by the relevant directors. How to create an event plan. At the moment when the job risk assessments are completed in the first phase, before we sign it, it is necessary to create an event plan, or it can be signed as part of the document set. To create an event plan, go to the specific structure where the checklist section is located. In Section 2, click the Create button. Next, there is an option to copy the tasks of the event plan from existing templates or other event plans in other structures. If you use a template, then you can choose predefined tasks in the system. This is found under the Selection section. I will choose the Standard Event Plan. Here we select the name and document date. Also, you need to choose the responsible user who will be accountable for this event plan as a whole. It is possible to group the plan by departments or divisions, or you can choose the overall list. This will affect how the printout will look. After saving, you can see that there are 6 incomplete tasks in the event plan. Let's take a look at why. Click View, and you will notice an important point. These 3 tasks cannot be deleted. They come from a specific risk assessment because the risk factor is 3 or higher. However, if the task can be deleted, it comes from the event plan template. So the tasks in the event plan come from 2 sources, from previously defined tasks in templates or other event plans, and from risk assessments. Here there is also an option to add a completely new task to the event plan. Define its workplace. For example, Structure D. Choose the responsible user and department. Describe the task and save it. Here will be the 7th task, which is added manually. There is also an option to change the responsible persons. For example, you can manually enter John Terry, select the status, and specify the deadline by which the task should be completed, for example, by the 31st. By clicking Save, the red icons indicating that the responsible user or the deadline is missing will disappear. At the top, you can always export this document in PDF format to see how it looks as a signed document. Let's look at the next step, but before that, I will show you another option. You can avoid opening each task individually to indicate the deadline and the responsible person. It is possible to mark several entries at once. Click Change Data, and for example, if the status is not completed, the responsible user will be a specific employee. The difference here is that here are managers, but here are employees. For the manager, for example, James Harrison, you need to specify the deadline. For example, a specific date, the 31st. By clicking Save, the red icons will disappear. When exporting the event plan to a PDF document, you will see that all tasks have specified dates and responsible persons. We didn't use the comments section this time, but there is an option to write the necessary comments there. You can do it in this section. By saving and re-exporting, you will see our comment test in the comments. How to create a list of regulations. A list of regulations is created to ensure that the responsible specialist who manages the occupational safety process in this company can monitor which laws and regulations are being followed. This includes the documents necessary to establish the document base we just reviewed. It also serves as a formal requirement to demonstrate that we have followed these rules. To create a list of regulations, go to the checklist. Click here to create a new list. Choose the responsible user if it is not yourself. Then select either the ready-made regulations from templates or manually enter everything, or use the copy-paste method in this text editor. Click Save, and you will see that the task automatically disappears from the list, as it has been moved to the document section. So go to the document section, and under Orders, you will find this section where you can view the same document. Exporting it to PDF will keep it in the same place. If necessary, this document can be edited and updated by clicking the Edit button and making the necessary changes. Once done and saved, you can also click the Renew button, which means the document will be resubmitted for signing or approval by both parties. How to sign occupational safety binding documents in the structure? Go to the specific structure. Once you have completed all the tasks in the checklist, performed the risk assessments, and created the action plan, and the binding regulations have been more or less fulfilled, click here to sign the documents. Before doing so, always ensure that the signatories are defined, which you can see here under Default Signatories. As a reminder, there must be at least one preparer and at least one approver. If that's done, confidently click the Sign button. The system prepares all the binding documents, such as the list of regulations, the list of instructions, risk assessments, and action plans. Everything we have created is compiled in one place. Here you also have the option to sign the documents electronically. Unfortunately, I can only demonstrate the physical signing method at the moment, as the electronic option is not currently available. However, if you choose the electronic method, the system will offer to sign the documents with a secure e-signature. The process is generally the same everywhere. Click Sign Documents. The system then prepares the entire set of documents. Click here to sign. At this point, the system opens the Secure e-signature authorization window because the signing process uses an external service, not our system. The e-signature is integrated into this system. Once both the manager and the specialist have signed the documents, they are mutually signed. Returning to the structure, we can see that the checklist is now marked in green. Both the risk assessments, 8 out of 8 positions, have been completed and signed, and the action plan is created and all the documents are signed. At this point, if you update the structure's statistics, you will see that the safety compliance percentage has increased as the necessary tasks have been completed. How to create multiple MHC cards at once. Go to the specific structure where you want to create these cards and click on the MHC and PPE section. In the MHC card section, click on the Additional Actions button, 3 dots, and choose the option to create multiple entries or multiple cards at once. Here you can select the type of card, whether it will be a primary health check or a repeat health check. Since you are currently working with a completely new structure and a new client, none of the employees have MHC cards for these periods, so it is necessary to create them for all 7 employees. In this case, it doesn't matter which period you choose, as the result will be the same in all cases. Select who will be the signer of the card and click Save. At this point, the system will start creating the cards. You can refresh the page as the process happens in parallel, and you will see that all 7 cards in this structure have already been created. At this point, you can retrieve them individually by clicking the Export button for each card. If you want to retrieve all the cards at once as a zip file, click the corresponding button, and all 7 entries will be saved. You can open and view each card individually for each employee.